Good afternoon. Good afternoon. This is a press conference that I sometimes have before an additional legislative meeting, and tomorrow, January 20th, we will have our regular committee of the whole meeting followed by an additional legislative meeting. The additional legislative meeting is a little bit more interesting than usual because, as you all know, former Councilmember Kenny McDuffie resigned effective January 5th. And so it falls on the council to appoint an individual to fill that vacancy, which I'm proposing for tomorrow. And then also, because he was chairing the Committee on Business and Economic Development, I will be proposing a reorganization of that committee. So that makes tomorrow's legislative meeting, the additional legislative meeting, a little bit more interesting. But I will start with my usual boring recitation of tomorrow's meeting. So it starts with the committee of the whole meeting. And we will be in the committee of the whole marking up confirmation of 3 members to the Historic Preservation Review Board and 2 trustees for the University of the District of Columbia. In addition, Councilmember Allen will be moving 2 bills. One is the Purple Heart License Plate Amendment Act. And if you ask me about that, I probably won't be able to answer questions other than the obvious that it's a license plate for Purple Heart. And then the Tree Preservation Enhancement Amendment, which makes some changes to our urban forest preservation law. The legislative meeting, the agenda is purposefully short. The first resolution, well, there will be 2 ceremonials, but the first resolution of consequence is to appoint Donnie Crawford to be to fill the vacancy, the seat vacated by Councilmember McDuffie. Many of you may know Ms. Crawford because she has been the committee director for the Committee on Business and Economic Development. And she will, assuming the council will confirm my nomination, which I think they will do, she will be filling that seat through the special election that is scheduled for June. And I'll be happy to answer questions about that as well as she is here. So at some point you can ask questions of her. The second resolution will be amendments to the Council Period 26 Rules of Organization and Procedure. I think, well, maybe I'll explain it this way. I looked at the fate of the Committee on Business and Economic Development as having 3 options. One was to take the committee and simply give it to another individual council member to chair. I did not think that would be a good option for several reasons, or I could take the committee and put it in the committee as a whole entirely. I didn't think that was a good option. And the third was to divide up the different agencies that are in the Committee on Business and Economic Development, to divide them up among existing committees. And so that's what I am doing tomorrow. Included in that is a creation of a subcommittee of the Committee of the Whole. Some of you will remember I've done this in the past. And I'm proposing that Councilmember Wendell Felder, who's a freshman and is not currently chairing a committee, that Councilmember Felder would chair the subcommittee. Same approach I took a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember. I mean, this has happened many times where I've done this and created a subcommittee of the Committee of the Whole. These changes are through this calendar year, and then we will revisit the organization, the council's organization, in December for the following 2 years. I can go through all the other details, but I think probably there will be questions, and I'll leave it to that. My understanding is that the legislation, both to appoint Ms. Crawford as well as the amendments to the Rules of Organization and Procedure, are now available on the web at chairmanmendelson.com/circulation. So you can see the gory details there. I think I'll leave it at that and answer questions. Do you want to come up, Ms. Crawford? Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone, and happy MLK Day. I am honored that the chairman selected me as his proposed appointee to the at-large council seat. I thank him and all the other council members for their support and belief in me. Nearly 10 years ago, I came to this city with a simple belief that government done right can help people build better lives. That belief has guided my work every day since. For most of my career, I've been a policy professional working behind the scenes, doing the research, building coalitions, and helping turn ideas into results. I wasn't doing it for the spotlight. I was doing it because I believe in this city and in the people who call it home. When the pandemic hit, thousands of DC workers in the informal cash economy found themselves ineligible for unemployment benefits. I helped lead a coalition that fought for them before the council, and together we secured $41 million in relief for excluded workers. That experience reinforced something I believe deeply. When people are struggling, government can't wait. It has to act. Most recently, as the committee director for the Committee on Business and Economic Development, I've worked on policies that shape whether residents can start and sustain businesses, find good jobs, and build wealth in their communities. I was part of the team that negotiated the Commanders Stadium deal, and I pushed to strengthen community benefits, local hiring requirements, and accountability, because our economy should work for everyone, not just a few. I believe in a DC where every resident has the opportunity to thrive and where our economy remains competitive with the region. For much of my career, I've been proud to do this work behind the scenes, but now I'm ready to step up and step forward, to take what I've learned and to put it directly to work for the residents of the District of Columbia. I know I must earn the trust of residents, and I'm ready to do that through listening, collaboration, and service. Thank you again for the opportunity. I look forward to the vote tomorrow and the work ahead. And of course, I'm happy to take your questions.
Thank you, Donnie. And we'll see if there are any questions for me or if they're all for her. Yes, Jenny.
Bolts, thank you. Does the appointment take effect immediately after the vote tomorrow?
The resolution would be effective immediately, but then Ms. Crawford would have to be sworn in. And my understanding is that the swearing in will be tomorrow afternoon.
And for the committee assignments, will Councilmember Felder be overseeing every single agency that was formerly under McDuffie's committee, or which agencies will be under the subcommittee, and then where will the other ones go?
The agencies under the subcommittee will be Department of Small, DSLBD, Department of Small Local Business, thank you. Department of Small Local Business Development, DSLBD, the bids. From time to time, there's legislation involving the bids, and then RFK as just a general subject matter, although specifically there is the Community Benefits Oversight Committee, fondly known as CBOC. You've probably never heard of it. So that would be under the subcommittee.
And can you just walk us through the process of making the selection and why in the end you chose Johnny?
As you know, reports that there would be a vacancy began in early December, maybe even late November. And so for many weeks now, there have been individuals who have come forward to me or to other council members expressing an interest in being appointed to fill the vacancy. I have talked with members many, many times, talked with all of the members, and over the course of weeks, got a sense of where members would be. This past week, I think you know that I had meetings with small groups of members where we got, I would say, got more focused. I mean, it's really surprising, but of roughly 42 people, I think the last time I stood at this podium, it was like 32, but of roughly 42 people who had expressed interest, that members really narrowed down to not even a dozen. I would say maybe 10 individuals. And in talking with members this past week, it was clear that, I mean, it was just clear, this isn't just me, that there was broad support for Ms. Crawford. Yeah.
Going off of that, Chairman, was it her council experience that led you to decide on this nomination?
Ms. Crawford's experience is important and relevant and will make a difference, but I think members were impressed with her authenticity.
Yeah, and going off of that, because you had mentioned ideally you were wanting to have someone who's familiar with the budget and how the council works heading into the budget season. So did that play into it at all as an asset?
As an asset, yes. I mean, you'd have to ask different members what it is that they liked most about Ms. Crawford, but
Well, I'm asking what do you like? What led you to nominate?
I was a combination of two things. One, being impressed with Ms. Crawford, and the other being that there's broad support for her. So as I said, there were 42 people. There wasn't broad support for 42 people. That got narrowed down to roughly 10 people. There wasn't broad support for 10 people. There was broad support for Ms. Crawford.
Your first choice, it doesn't sound, was there broad support for your first choice? Was she your first choice to fill this seat?
She is my first choice. That's why I'm putting her name forward.
She's the one you're bringing forward publicly, but there's been a talk amongst, you did this very secretively behind closed doors. You told us at the last meeting that you didn't, well, sir, you told us at the last meeting that you didn't anticipate that you would be having meetings in groups with council members. And because we asked if those meetings would be open to the public, if there'd be any public engagement. So I'm just wondering, was she your first? Because you said you're impressed with her, but she has the consensus. She has the vote. So is it more that she is the candidate who's able to get the most votes, or that she's the person that you thought out of the 42 was absolutely the very best for this job?
Out of the 42 candidates, she is the best choice. Now, I know, Mr. Seagraves, and I don't know if you were part of this, but there was reporting last week that I had picked somebody, which as of a week ago was not correct. Or even as of, I'm going to say 5 days ago was not correct. But I'm aware of reports of what my choice was before I had before I had finished talking with members.
I appreciate that, and I was not part of that reporting, but a lot of us were part of those conversations, and we see now that that person, the reporting was that person was very much opposed by Wendell Felder, and now he's getting this subcommittee overseeing RFK, which seems like a pretty plush gig that might be coveted. So I'm wondering if, in exchange to keep him happy, you gave him that, didn't promote the person that he wanted. I'm just wondering the background, because we weren't privy to any of this.
Yeah, somebody needs to write a novel, but that's what it would be. It would be fiction. There was not any trade, nor was there in my mind any trade with regard to that. And with regard to RFK, which you call plush, the legislation that is circulating the amendment to the rules says oversight of RFK except with permitting and planning and zoning.
And then,
Just kind of like
if we could ask Ms. Crawford,
parts. Yeah.
hi, sorry about all this in
okay.
advance.
I'm Mr. Seagraves.
Can you tell us just a little, are you a registered Democrat? Are you a registered independent? Has that changed in light of this appointment? And do you plan to run for this seat in either the special election or at any time?
I'm a registered independent, and today I just want to focus on getting to the vote tomorrow. I don't have any comment about my future plans, but whenever I do have future plans, I will let you know.
So I'm sorry, you are an independent now?
Yes.
So, but that's recently changed
I've been independent for a few months.
for a few months.
Mhm.
And so you won't tell us if you plan to run for this seat on a permanent basis? You're going to keep that
I'm focused on tomorrow, getting to the vote.
Why don't you think the public deserves to know whether or not you want this as a permanent job or just a temporary job? Don't you think the public, the council members, deserve to know that?
Of course they do. And at some point they will hear from me on my plans, but that's not today. Yes, hi, Sam.
Talk to us about your budgetary priorities with budget season coming up. What's on your list of priorities as far as the future of the district?
For sure. Thank you for that question. I will be focused on first the committees that I sit on. So I know that I'll be sitting on the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. So that is definitely an area where I look to lean in and make sure that we can make the investments to keep district residents safe. I'm also sitting on the Committee on Executive Administration and Labor, so workforce investments, the Committee on, I'm gonna blank, Youth Affairs. So that ties very nicely to the Judiciary Committee, and then the Committee on Transportation and the Environment. So there's other 4 areas where I personally would want to lean in, but additionally, I really want to hit the ground outside of the building to see what residents want me to focus on. And I plan to aggressively talk to residents so that I can hear from them and advocate for their priorities here in the Wilson Building.
So will that take place? What's the timeline on it as far as engaging residents?
First 30 days.
Awesome. And in regards to your judiciary committee membership, I wanted to gather your thoughts on the person or the future of MPD as it relates to the person at the helm. So what are your thoughts around the current interim chief, given what we know about him as far as his alleged involvement with the Proud Boys? Is there any consideration around not supporting his permanency, or do you have any thoughts around qualities that you want to see in a police chief?
I would like to see if the executive plans to move his nomination on a permanent basis. My understanding is they haven't decided whether or not he will be an interim chief or if he will be put forward on a permanent basis. If he's put forward on a permanent basis, I will, of course, attend those hearings so that I can hear from him, hear from the public, and then make a decision after that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Me? Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yes, just a question. So obviously this is a position that you're being appointed to. So the residents didn't get to elect you at this time. So for anybody that doesn't know a lot about you or are concerned because you were appointed rather than elected, what's your message to those residents?
I hear them, and that is why I previously said I have to earn their support. This is a once in a district lifetime event. I don't think anyone has ever been appointed to a seat on the DC Council. So I'm very cognizant of that, which is why within the first 30 days, I want to make sure I'm everywhere across all 8 wards. They can hear from me. They should know that I'm accessible. My future staff and I will be accessible. And I want to do everything I can to make sure that they believe in me and they want to see me do a good job, I'm sure.
Yeah. And just one more, if I could. I know you're not talking about future plans, but how do you or what do you see this role being for you in the next several months?
Oh, so I've actually had some conversations that I will keep private, but currently there are 4 council members who were former staffers. And I think I can learn a lot from them and how they made the transition. I don't think it's going to be easy, but I know that they've done it. They've shared some words of advice and counsel, and I'll look to lean on them a little bit as I make this transition too. Hi, Martin. Oh, whoever. Do I call on Martin? I don't know everyone's names, but I know Martin.
He's in charge and see if you have a question for me.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the former staffers who became a council member is right there, so
Yeah.
I'm sure he's got some guidance. So you've been on staff for 4 years. You've watched the ins and outs of what the council does from a staffer's position, which is obviously very distinct from being a council member themselves. What made you want to make that leap from being a staffer who makes decisions? You know, I'm sure politics gets involved in some of it, but a lot of your decisions can be separated from the politics because ultimately you're not the politician. So what made you want to make that leap? And are you at all concerned that, you know, that gap between being a staffer and now being a council member will be tough to navigate because the politics have kind of been not your main job for the last 4 years?
I think even when we're moving legislation, there's politics involved with that. We always have to count to 7. We have to know who's on what side. So I'm not afraid of the politics. I feel like I've been doing that. Yes, I'll do it in a different way. However, when I thought about putting my name forward, there was something in me that just felt like I was ready to step from the back of the dais to the front of the dais. And I really want to continue the work that I've been working on over the past 4 years, and be able to be the one who makes the final decisions, who introduces bills, who makes investments in Ward 7 and 8 as well, because that's something I've been focused on throughout my career. So I'm just ready.
And then I know obviously we're jumping ahead of ourselves because you haven't even been voted on yet, but we love jumping ahead of ourselves here in the press corps. Do you have any legislation that you'd like to introduce? Anything in mind of like first day that you get a chance? This is the bill I'd like to introduce.
I haven't picked a first day bill, but I will circle back to let you know. I have a list on my notes in my app on my phone, but I haven't like decided the sequence. Yeah.
You can read the list right now. I mean, we'll
No,
take that,
no,
too.
well, my phone's over there. We'll
Okay.
leave it over there.
So I'd like to ask the chairman a few questions about the process. I think that's where Mark was, and you did not take the opportunity to explain the process. As I recall, there were some council members who asked you to set a criteria. Did you set one?
Specific criteria,
For the selection of, among the 42 people, what was the criteria you used to come down to Ms. Crawford?
in the end, I would say that it was subjective judgment. That may not sound like a great answer. There was different criteria that I discussed, and I discussed with council members, but none of them were determinative. So for example, somebody who's outside as opposed to somebody who's inside, somebody who has a lot of experience as opposed to somebody who's like new, fresh-faced, completely completely outside. There were different, if I say criteria like that, but none of them were determinative.
So when you talk to council members separately, if you don't mind me following up on a couple of questions in this vein, when you talk to council members, what was the conversation? We like her, we don't like her, she's around, she's one of us, she's not from the outside. What was the basic thing that all of you were looking for?
Again, I can't speak for other members as to what specifically persuaded them, but I will say that I think that members were interested in a qualified candidate as opposed to an ideology or somebody who is aligned with this group or this member or not with a member. However, it really seemed to be about what I picked up from members was about the person that they thought would be best for the council.
In the interest of transparency, is the names on that list, the 42 names, because we've heard names bandied about, Alyssa Silverman, and Jack Evans, Bill Lightfoot. These were people of some weight, not just shallow individuals who were just nominating themselves. And you passed over these people who had far more experience than Ms. Crawford and far more knowledge about the inner workings of the organization, meaning the council. So can you share the names on that list, the 42 names?
I have not shared all the names. Yeah, I mean, from time to time, you might hear me mention a name, but I've not shared the all of the names because why am I pausing here? Because I don't know that everyone who was being considered either some people were advocating more than other people. I think I would put it that way, and I'm not sure that all of them wanted to have their name shared. Because I think there'd be a lot of speculation about, ooh, this person or why not that person? So let me just say this about former council members. There were a number of former council members who either talked with me or talked to other members. And actually, that's another reason why I've not shared all the names, because some of them came to me from other members as opposed to from the individuals directly. In fact, I learned in this process that when I had the last press conference, and I think I said there were 32, I actually, one of the people had actually never expressed an interest in the appointment. They were actually interested in running for the Democratic nomination. So see the integrity of the list in terms of the accuracy was not perfect. Former council members, they might have had experience with the budget when they were on the council, but that was a while ago and doesn't translate to the issues that we have today before us.
Last question for me, just one last question. Given the fact that Ms. Crawford has just failed to disclose what her intentions are in terms of running for office.
That's not what I heard.
Well, okay, she's not saying what her intentions are. Has she said what her intentions are? And do you recognize that if she decides to run for office, she has a leverage that other people who are running for office do not have at this moment?
Yeah, I love your question. So I don't think she failed anything. I think she hasn't decided, which is exactly the way you just characterized it. So you heard what she said. And I think that the argument you just made could be argued differently. So I can think of at least two people who.
How do you argue it differently, Mr. Chairman? You know what the privilege and the range of experience and the media exposure, free media exposure that she would be getting over the next few months.
Sure.
So how do you
Sure. So
explain?
that didn't help the appointee. Now, there have been other appointees. Let me be clear, because I saw Mr. Seagraves react to this. There've been other appointees, but they were appointed by the party. This is the first time that the council has made the appointment, and that's because Mr. McDuffie was a non-affiliated party, no affiliation, or in other words, independent. But there have been other appointments, and those appointments, I can think of two in particular, one in 2011 and one in 1997 or 1998, who did not get elected in the special election. I think it was
And
1997.
one who did, who was
Well, there's some who haven't,
appointed
there's some who
herself, though.
haven't.
So that made a bit of a difference, but nevertheless, she did.
So I think it works both ways. I mean, that's kind of what I've loved about this process from the beginning, is that, it'd be great to have somebody who's a complete outsider, but then they don't have experience. Why would you pick somebody without experience? It's great to have somebody with experience, but wait a minute, then you're not getting new and different. And I think actually Ms. Crawford is perfectly blending both worlds with the experience, knowledge of the council, as well as being an outsider. And I think that's important. But the point here is that these arguments can be argued both ways. And the issue of putting a thumb on the scale, it can be counterproductive. We're going to work our way down the.
So there's been concern in the past about at-large council members in particular not really paying attention to east of the river versus other parts of the district. Do you by any chance, well, not even do you, but what is your strategy in terms of bringing equity and supporting Councilmember Felder, Councilmember Trayon White, and the other at-large council members and giving particular attention to those parts of the city?
That's something I've done my whole career, especially here in DC, obviously. So that's not something I have to teach myself. I know that I will be present and visible in Ward 7 and 8. It's a priority for me. You won't have to ask, you'll see me there. And it's something I care about deeply, is making sure that Black residents are included in district government and the budget and policy making. It's something I do all the time. So it's definitely a focus for me.
Thanks.
Raphael?
Ms. Crawford, you mentioned RFK. What do you think out of your time at the council, kind of one of the highlight legislation that you kind of want to let people know this is kind of what I pride in? And two, your stance on how things are right now with federal immigration enforcement and MPD, given that you're going to be on the judiciary?
So to answer your first question, I'm going to answer it a little differently because technically budget is still legislation. And I'm most proud of last year, my team and I, we were a team of 3, including myself, and we led the Committee on Business and Economic Development's analysis of 22 subtitles that were referred to the committee, plus 5 that we had on our own. So that's 27 subtitles. And we deeply had to research, meet with the stakeholders to make recommendations to the chairman on whether or not to keep those subtitles in the budget. And we had to do it in a condensed timeline because as you remember, the budget was shorter than normal years last year. And we did it very well. And I'm very proud of that work. And it's something I treasure here at my time at the council.
Really quick follow-up. So, for like a DC resident, what does that mean for
I know
them?
that was
Yeah,
long.
yeah, yeah. What does that mean to
I
them?
mean, it's a lot of long nights, long weekends. Budget office is here too. We all work together. It's like a little family here. And the time that we put in on behalf of district residents, and then at the end came up with this really beautiful budget product was great. And it's a really important part of the budget process. Each committee has to make recommendations to the chairman. And so that was my first time leading that work. And I thought we did it successfully.
And then the second, MPD stands with federal immigration.
Yes. So again, I will definitely be leaning in here on the committee. I am very supportive of residents, particularly our immigrant community. And I know that there have been concerns about MPD's cooperation with federal immigration. And first, I don't support mask. That makes me personally uncomfortable, and I know how that could be traumatizing to people. I do know that there's a bill pending before the Judiciary Committee, and I will be making sure to reach out to the Judiciary Chair to have a hearing on that bill so that we can actually take action here to make district residents feel safer now that MPD has in the past been cooperating with federal immigration.
Would you support a hearing specifically to hear from residents these concerns?
Absolutely. Hi, Jenny.
Okay. A few questions. One, putting together a staff on this compressed timeline. How is that going to work given that, performance oversight is just around the corner? And would you be recruiting from your colleagues that you worked with in McDuffie's office or outside or a combination? How are you thinking about that process?
I don't want to talk about personnel decisions only because I haven't talked with our team yet. So I just know that this will be top of mind on Wednesday, and I'll have more to share probably Wednesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are there agencies you're particularly looking forward to asking questions of during performance oversight, or questions you're really going to be trying to get to the bottom of during these upcoming hearings?
I would say MPD is one within the Committee on Judiciary and Public Safety. I also sit technically on the Committee of the Whole. So I want to attend some of the education hearings. That's something that in the past I haven't focused too much on education policy, but I know it's important. And we want to make sure all kids, they deserve the right to a quality school. So I'll be at some of the CAL hearings with DCPS and the DME, and I'll be sure to be at both public and government witnesses. And then I still have a soft spot for former seabed, so I'll be at some of those hearings as well.
Gotcha. And in terms of McDuffie's role in this process, would you just have described him as sort of like a hands-on advocate for you, over the last couple weeks, or did he take a step back? What was the role there?
I earned this appointment, if I'm approved tomorrow, on my own. I did have one conversation with him just to share, out of respect, obviously, that I was interested in the seat. But beyond that, I have not had conversations with him.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Rebecca with 7 News. Nice to meet you.
I've seen you a lot, though.
Oh, well, thank you for watching.
Yeah.
If you can talk about, do you feel your prior council experience prepares you for this role? And if so, if you can speak anecdotally as to how.
So we're about to start performance oversight season, which begins, I believe, on Thursday. It may begin Wednesday, but I think the first hearings are on Thursday. And what that means is in my prior role as staff, we would release questions to all the agencies ahead of time to give them the opportunity to explain where they're at with different programs and investments that the council and the executive made over the fiscal year that began in October. And we would hold hearings and basically take what we learned from the written documents and ask questions on the record and kind of get to the bottom of where things are at on those investments and those programs. And I'm excited to be able to do that from the dais now. I feel like I've done the work, but now it's going to be me asking the questions. And I'm excited for that opportunity.
And do you feel like your budget experience will help you as well during
Yes.
budget time?
Yes, this is technically, Blaine and I have had some opinions on this, but I consider this my 8th budget season, but it's my 5th budget season at the council. So I know the process, I know how it works, I know the ins and outs, I know the stakeholders, and I'm excited to get started.
And can you clarify, what was your party affiliation before you switched to independent? And when exactly did you say you switched?
It was a few months ago, so I was a Democrat.
Do you remember what month?
I
Just curious.
believe it was early fall, so September. Mark?
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
I apologize again in advance. I just want to follow up on the chairman said, have you decided whether or not you're going to run, or is it still something you're decide?
It's still something I'm working through, but I'm not going to have an opinion today on that or a announcement. So today is just about the appointment.
And then could you tell us a little something about you personally? Just kind of, I'm guessing you're from Pittsburgh.
About me? 'Cause I could tell you a little bit about me personally.
Could you tell us, like, I'm wondering where you live, what neighborhood you live, like family? Do you have a family here? If you could tell us your age, are you from Pittsburgh? It seems like maybe you're,
From Pittsburgh.
okay.
And I live in Ward 5. I live in Carver, Langston. I'm 36 years old. I have 2 brothers, a mom. They live in Pittsburgh, Chicago. I love musical theater. I love R&B. I love old school Motown. I'm giving you like real Donnie here. I love sports too. So I grew up in a football town. I have learned to love the Commanders. I do love the Commanders, especially after last year. And
Are they your first pick?
I would say yes. After last year and all that we went through, yes. But I still have love for Pittsburgh and we made the playoffs. So there's that. But that's really me. I feel like I'm an open book. I'm accessible in the future. If you want to reach out to me, I'm here.
Now that today's here, what sleep did you lose last night?
Wait, last night, what am I missing? Oh, you mean as far as today?
Yeah.
Oh, I will be honest, I tossed and turned quite a bit. I tried to go to bed on time, but I'm a night owl. So typically I'm not in bed before midnight. I'm just up watching TV, scrolling, reading. Oh, I forgot to mention I'm a big reader. I love to read. So last night was rough, but I think tonight will be better.
Late night council sessions then?
I am. I think that's fun. I was actually disappointed when the RFK hearing wrapped before midnight. I believe it was before midnight. I wanted to go beyond midnight. Sometimes we have like bets about, I know. But I think I remember hearing like the record was 4 a.m. or something for the longest hearing. So I was trying to beat that. Oh, wait.
And you made the decision a few months ago
Mhm.
to switch. What was involved with that? Why did you switch?
So
Did you have any conversations with?
Didn't have any conversations, but like all of you, I read speculation and I wanted to ensure that I would be eligible in the event that the seat was vacated.
So you had this in mind, you were plotting, so to speak.
I
mean, that's not a
wanted
good
some
word,
options.
but yeah,
Yeah.
okay. So you had that in mind. When you spoke to the other council members who were considering you, what was the main point that you made to them about why you were better than their previous colleagues for this job at this moment where the city's finances are flat? There's a fight going on between the city and the Republicans about taking over this city and taking over home rule. Why did you tell them you're better than any of those former council members for this moment?
Simply put, I said, I'm ready on day one. I know the legislative and budget processes as we head into performance and budget oversight. They know a lot of my work in the past. I've worked with their teams on various pieces of legislation. My work ethic speaks for itself. I'm a very hard worker. I care about my work product. Everything I produce is high quality. And honestly, I didn't have to name that because they did know that. I did, but that's kind of how I told my story while talking to the members. And I don't want to go into specifics because, I want to keep those conversations private.
You're getting ready to be, while not elected, you're getting ready to be a council member, and you're talking about council business. Why do you think you need to have those conversations private?
Because it's between me and the member. I don't want to share, our conversations out of respect. Martin?
I mean, not to poke the bear here, who's standing next to you, do you think the council could start its hearings a little more on time than it currently does?
I would say, I'm guilty of that too. So,
Ah. Come on.
we're often still finishing up our prep and all things. Yeah.
Fair. And actually, this is a question for the chairman, jumping back to the process here. I had spoken to a couple of people who were involved in this process, and they said that, they saw a full list, but then the list was eventually narrowed down after a variety of conversations that you had with members. Did you eventually have like a top three, and then you chose Ms. Crawford from that one? Did you run the top three by all the members and say, can you rank it? Was there a ranked choice voting component of this? Like, walk through the end of this.
Well, as you know, I have not supported ranked choice voting, so I will not admit to anything like that occurring
You won't
here.
deny it either.
I will not admit to anything like that.
All right, fair.
I really was looking for what the input was from members. So I was not trying to in any way spike what their suggestions were. It didn't surprise me, while at the same time it did surprise me. And I say this because I've participated in not something like this with elected officials, but where, like, for instance, at the Council of Governments, picking a new executive director. And it really is, to me, fascinating how a group, an interview committee, in this case, all the council members, really sort of there's a lot of overlap. So there might be somebody who expressed an interest who one member supports as like a third choice. But there was, with Ms. Crawford, there definitely was overlap. As I said, there was very broad support. And it was not me saying, hey, I think that these are the three people and these are who, are you guys okay with them? But rather it was, who do you think? And I just kind of knew early on that there was going to be a lot of overlap in the suggestions. I will say, in response to Ms. Barris's question, when Ms. Crawford talked to me, she didn't talk to me about why she was better than other candidates. She talked to me about why she was qualified and why she was a good candidate. So it was a positive approach, not a critical or negative approach. One last question.
Did we talk about who you're going to have as the new chair pro tem? Did we?
No,
talk-
we didn't, but the
So,
press
can we
conference is
talk
about to
about
shut down and,
Can
Wasn't
we
it?
at least go there to
well,
say?
I said one last and Mr. Seagraves was the one I was going to recognize. I'm just giving you a hard time. The nomination, I'm going to propose Anita Bonds for Chair Pro Tem.
Anita Bonds for the chair pro
Pro
tem.
tem.
Okay.
Mr. Seagraves, you are the last.
Crawford, I believe you said, but I just want to make sure, did you throw your hat in the ring? Did you apply for this as opposed to somebody else coming to you and saying, hey, I want to nominate you? This was, you affirmatively went to the chair and said you wanted to be considered?
Correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
Can I ask one off-topic question? Which is one of your favorite topics?
No,
Which is one of your
what do I
favorite
do?
topics? Just one.
Hey, thank you, or?
One
Yes,
off
one off topic. And the last question.
Have you seen the rules for the ranked choice voting?
No. I
Have
not.
you, okay, the rules there were concerns, as you know, that were raised by Bob King and the leaders from Ward 5 who were concerned that there might be voter suppression. Part of the rules have questions, the rules would disqualify some ballots if they didn't vote in serial for ranked choice voting. So if you if you ranked 1 and then skipped 2 and 3, your ballot could be discarded, is the way I read that. Are you concerned about any of these methods in the rulemaking that would officially discard ballots of voters?
The amazing thing about your question is it started with, have I seen the rules? I have not. So I
Well,
can't
I'm
comment on
raising
the
this
rules.
because I can't imagine that you, as the chairman, who has some concerns about ranked choice voting, and the rules came out, what, 3 or 4 days ago, and you haven't bothered to look at it. And this really means that some of the people who are voting would actually, their votes would actually be discarded.
Well, if you're correct, that is of concern. Thank you all very much. See you tomorrow morning at whatever time committee of the whole is, which I think is 11 o'clock. You did well.
Thank you. Thank you.